Right here. Here's the money. Take it. Yeah. Somebody press the button. No comment right now.
That's good.
What do you think? Give us a little room to breathe here, and I'll make a statement for you, tell you whatever you want. Okay? Oh, wait, now let's... A little more room, please. Come on, guys. Hey, look, now a little more room instead of jamming the mics down my throat, and we'll answer all your questions, okay? All right, now let's go, one at a time.
Mr. Tarlow,
Barry, is he kicked loose now?
Is he loose?
All right. The situation is this. He has been released. We prepared a writ of habeas corpus to be filed today if he was not released. We told the authorities our position, and we're ready to go to court. The police have considered our position, have investigated the case, have treated him well, and have come, I think, to the same conclusion that I've had since we started with this, that the boy is innocent, he's not involved in any way, and he has been released.
Will you have him describe to us what he saw and heard?
He's not about to make any comments now.
Will you file a false arrest?
Is he still in custody?
That's something we're going to have to consider.
What, a false arrest?
False arrested.
What was his relationship with the parent boy?
The parent boy was a friend of his. Say, is there any way to move the cameras back just a little, give us a little room to breathe? I told you we'll answer your questions.
Mr. Tarlow,
what will you be doing
has there
with
been
the
any
boy now?
indication that they're going to want to see Mr. Garrettson in the future for any further statements on the case?
Well, the situation is this. I have John O'Grady who is with me now. He's my chief investigator on the case. We're taking him and we're putting him in what I would consider protective custody.
Has he been fully
Is there
released?
some reason for protective custody beyond his own?
We just don't want anyone bothering him. He doesn't know anything about the case. He is uninvolved, and we're going to be sure that he's not bothered and given a chance to recuperate after this nightmare that he's gone through.
We learned the other day that apparently he had given some names to police. Does that place him in danger?
As far as I know, he's in no danger whatsoever. He gave no names to police officers of people who he considered to be a suspect. The only names involved are the names of people or acquaintances of his, and the police are checking them out routinely as they're checking out all other acquaintances of the murdered people.
But has he been fully released, sir?
He is released. I'm confident that he will not be rebooked in any charge, and as far as criminal charges, the matter is at an end.
Then is there no reason why he just couldn't say briefly as to what happened that night, as far as he remembers?
Well, the reason is that because of this situation he's gone through, he's in terrible shape. That's why. If you can imagine being dragged out of your house and thrown into a nightmare like this when you're not even involved, and when you're not 19 years old, and when you're 19 years old.
Imprisonment?
Well, we were told that he would get a shirt. He never got one. We were told that he would be given a shower. He was never permitted to take a shower in all the time he was there. And we were told that he would get a toothbrush to be able to clean his teeth. He wasn't even given that, in spite of constant requests.
Does he recall what happened that evening?
Yes, he recalls very well what happened that evening.
Well,
William, did you hear anything the night of the murder?
He's not making any comments at this time.
Well, would you say or recall for us, or recount for us what he told you that he recalled that night?
He recalls, or he is aware of, not aware of any of the events surrounding the murder.
Who was the last person he saw alive?
Parent.
What time did he
What
see
was the
Harold?
situation that he saw a parent alive?
What did
Parent was
say?
talking to him. They were about nothing which would have any evidentiary value in a murder case.
What time was it and where were they?
Approximately 11:30.
Where
Wait,
was he?
wait 1 second now. Can you just back off just a little bit? The lights are warm. It's hot in here. I told you we'll be glad to answer your question. Just give me a little room, okay?
Did he see any of the
Where were
killings?
they?
Did he see any of the killings take place?
He saw none of the killings take place.
Did
Did he
parents
accompany
say
a parent to
ignore
his
going
car?
home?
To parent's car?
He left the house with parent, did not accompany him to the car.
But as far as he knew, he was going to his home in El Monte. When he
That's
saw it.
correct.
What are his plans in the future? Does he want to go back to Ohio?
Well, I don't think he's enjoyed the hospitality of the state here. I think he will probably be going back to Ohio.
In the event that a suspect is apprehended, will he be available as a witness?
Well, there's nothing that he could possibly testify to. In other words, this is a case of a boy who was so innocent. It's not a case of insufficient evidence. It's a situation where there was no evidence whatsoever to connect him with the crime. Not only that, he wasn't even a witness to anything that was crucial to the crime. And here's a man that stayed in the Los Angeles County Jail for all this time, but for no reason whatsoever. He can't tell the police anything.
Mr. Tarlow, in the absence of another suspect, since there was no one else on the grounds, they still might be looking at Mr. Garretson. Do you intend in your office to help out in any kind of investigation looking for someone else who might have been involved?
Well, we've done a rather complete investigation on the case. We've had our investigative staff has been working on the case round the clock since the time we were retained to represent the boy. We have not been concentrating on picking up any involvement of any other people in the case. That's for the Los Angeles Police Department. We don't have information as to involvement by other people, and as far as we're concerned, our reports are completely confidential and are not available to the Los Angeles Police Department.
Why did he hear nothing?
I'm sorry.
I say, who retained you in this case?
A friend of his and Bill.
When was the last time he saw Miss Tate alive? Approximately.
Several days before.
Is it your position then that your client saw nothing, heard nothing, and knows nothing?
That's it. That's. I couldn't have summarized it better.
Why did he hear nothing?
There's some distance between the area of the house where he was arrested, and the scene of the murders. His bedroom is in the back of that house. I spoke today during the course of the investigation to the owner of the house, and he happened to volunteer the statement that if Bill was in the back bedroom there, he couldn't have heard anything that went on in the house.
Where is the owner now? Is he in Europe?
No, the owner has returned. He's in Los Angeles.
Barry, the Associated Press reported that when they see the detectives, is this a true statement or not?
Well, no, those aren't the first words at all. In fact, the first words that took place were the police were pounding on the door, and they said, "Open up the door." My client said, "Wait a minute," and the next thing he heard were, "Get your fucking hands up in the air and don't move." And then the door came flying down, and shotguns were stuck in his face.
Did the police tell you of any new suspect that they're looking for now?
No, the police haven't.
Was he awake all night that night?
He was awake all night that night.
What was
Let me make one other comment. As far as from the moment he's been in custody, we don't have any complaints about the manner in which he was treated by the Los Angeles Police Department. In other words, there were some indignities, like not being able to take a shower or something like that, but I think the investigating officers carried on in a manner which I think does credit to the Los Angeles morality of arresting him in the first place, and I think the arrest never should have taken place.
Let him out the door, Dan.
Contact me sometime within the next couple of days.
Dan, get out here and shot.
I think there probably will be a false arrest suit. If ever there was a case which justified a false arrest suit, I think this is it. How much damage is it?
Who's got a light on? I don't know. Turn the light on. Turn the light on. Who's got a light on?
No.
Well, I can't do anything.
Won't make any difference in a minute.
Somebody got it.
What was the word? Okay, here comes the sun.
That he's being released this time.
What time was he released?
Oh, approximately 20 minutes ago.
You're all right. You're all right.
As I say, I'm going to take care of him for a couple of days, and then he'll probably be going back to Ohio and all that. That's correct.
Police advise me can leave the state.
Well, the police have nothing to do with whether he can leave or not. If I want him to go, he'll go.
That's it. That's it, Ralph.
Stay, he'll stay.
Ralph?
You're on the side.
Going home with you, huh?
No, he's not going home with me. I'm putting him somewhere where nobody can bother him.
69.
Take him right back. We're coming right back with you.
Yeah, you're Is your car like real handy where we can get to it?
No, it's not. Wait on it, goddamn garage.
He was right on the property at the time of the murders.
Was he awake or asleep?
Well, that all depends what time the murders are. Does someone have any speculation as to what time they occurred?
Let's assume it was after midnight.
If they were after midnight and before 6 o'clock in the morning, he was awake.
What's the dead boy parents' connection with your client?
Parents is a friend of my client's.
Can you tell us the name of the individual that Garrettson gave to police? The man that police are now looking for?
Well, the situation is this. Garrettson didn't give anybody to the police. In other words, it's not a question of he gave one person to the police and that person became a prime suspect and he furnished information linking this person. It's our position that Bill Garretson knows nothing about the murder and was not involved. He gave the police several people. In investigating a homicide case like this, the idea is to talk to as many people as you can.
Larry, are you his
The
regular
Los Angeles
attorney?
Police Department. What have they told you?
Ask him one at a time.
Are
please,
you
gentlemen.
his attorney regularly?
No, I've never represented him before this case.
What is the position of the Los Angeles Police Department? What have they told you?
Well, what they're doing is equivocating about what they want to do. I think they'd like to hold him forever. And it's just not going to happen. We're convinced that he has to be let loose based on the evidence that our investigation has produced. And that's either he's going to be let loose today or the writ of habeas corpus is going to be filed and a judge will turn him loose. Not because the evidence is insufficient, but simply because there is no evidence at all. He simply is not involved.
Have they told you that they have sufficient evidence to hold him any further?
Unfortunately, the police department hasn't consulted me in conducting their investigation. They've done it by themselves, and they won't tell me what their evidence is. However, my investigators have come up with what I think is essentially the same picture as they have, except we haven't concentrated on looking for any other subject. We've just concentrated on Bill Garrettson's lack of involvement.
What's your investigation's theory of the murder, then?
No comment. I will comment on it. We really haven't created a theory. Again, I'm not interested in solving crimes for the police department. The Los Angeles Police Department has an investigative staff which is equal to mine, I would say. Perhaps they think it's a little better, but in any event, we haven't concentrated on that. Our concentration has been on showing that he is not involved.
Does Garrettson remember where he was during the time of the murders?
Well, again, that assumes that you know what time the murders are, and that's something that, because we haven't had access to the autopsy reports, we don't know.
Does Garrettson know where he was and what he was doing from 10 o'clock the night before till, say, 6 o'clock the next morning?
Well, I've placed some of the people, at least, at being alive at about 12 o'clock the night before, at least at a quarter to 12.
Does Garrettson know where he was at that time?
Yes, he knows where he was.
Where was he?
Home.
Who did he try to call at 5:30 in the morning, please?
No comment. Oh, well, yeah, I can comment on that. He tried to call the time to find out what time it was. He had been up listening to his stereo and reading, and there was no clock, and he was calling the time. The reason we feel it was 5:30 in the morning or so was because of the wires were out at the time he tried to make the call, and because the sun was just coming up at the time he tried to make the call.
So what did he do? Go back to bed? Just fall asleep again?
Then he had not gone to sleep. Then he just laid down and went to sleep. And the next thing he knows, the police come flying through his front door with the shotguns. And
Who was the last person he saw before he tried this telephone call?
The last person he saw was Parrott.
What was Parrott doing there that night?
Parrott was talking to him.
What was the last time he saw him? What time was that?
That was sometime after 11 o'clock at night.
When was he aware of the killings?
The first thing he knew about the killings was when the police department came flying through his front door with their shotguns.
He didn't hear anything?
Didn't hear a thing. His house.
But he was awake.
Well, the situation is this. His house is not adjacent to the area where the killings took place. His bedroom is in the rear of the guest house. There is a distance and shrubbery and a pool between the guest house and the other house.
How far?
Well, in fact, the situation is I was talking to the owner of the house last night, who has returned from Europe as part of our investigation. And just in passing, he happened to mention to me, without my asking him, that if the boy was listening to television in his bedroom, he could not hear what was going on at the Tate house.
There are neighbors down there who live even further away who said that they heard shots after midnight. What about that?
Well, of course, there are some neighbors who said they didn't hear anything. And I don't know, maybe the LAPD ought to go up and arrest those neighbors. They have as much evidence on them as they do on my client.
Does Garrettson
you know
have
what
any
happened that night prior to midnight? What was going on
Well,
at the house?
we've concluded there was a party going on there.
Police say there was no party going on.
Well, again, that's their view of the evidence. My view is
Do you have
something
any
different.
information, Barry,
Parrott
that
and,
any narcotics was recovered from the house?
I don't have any information of narcotics being recovered on that particular night. Our investigation has come across narcotics in connection with the house.
Does Garrettson have any history at all of narcotics addiction?
No history of any kind of narcotics addiction. I doubt if he's ever used narcotic in his life, and by that I'm talking about narcotics.
You said no narcotics. You said you've come across narcotics in connection with that house. In connection with those people also?
No further comment.
Can you tell us the...
Linda Kasabian will be on the witness stand for most of the week. The defense will try and prove that she's taken acid and LSD many times, that she lies, that she's trying to save her own life, that her testimony is completely untrustworthy. Dick Shoemaker, ABC News in Los Angeles.
This evidence of the sexual activity, this group sexual activity, as an indication of Mr. Manson's total domination over that family. You recall her testimony in court today was that he was the one that was ordering everyone to make love, and no one touched anyone until Charlie said so. We are offering this as an illustration of the power and control that Mr. Manson had over that family. We are offering it as circumstantial evidence that on the 2 nights in question, it was he who ordered these 7 murders, that he continued to exercise.
How many men the Los Angeles Police Department has working on this particular case, of both cases?
Yes, Lieutenant Helder from Homicide Division is heading up the investigators. We have 17 sergeants and 2 lieutenants. And,
5 seconds, Dan.
Sergeant Cook, can you tell us now how many men the Los Angeles Police Department has working on both of these cases?
Yes, we have 17 sergeants and 2 lieutenants whose prime responsibility now is the investigation of the both homicides.
Are they working together?
No, actually the homicides are not connected. I think the public and a lot of the media picked out the fact that they were similar in nature, possibly because of the blood and the inscriptions. But this is rather a common type of thing in homicides. We've had many cases before where the suspect is written in blood or in lipstick or various things of that nature.
Is it possible then that the police department feels that the latest killing was simply a copycat of the original?
There are some things there that were of similar nature, but we're not ruling out the fact that there's always that possibility that they would be connected, but so far our evidence shows that there is no connection, just a similarity in nature to some events. Checking these things out since the original occurrence.
security on both of these cases seems rather tight. The press is not allowed access to either of the houses. This seems more than usual. Why is that?
Well, not really. It's the fact that actually we put out probably more information initially than we should have. There are certain things that only the suspect would know, for instance. Now, if we gave all the information out as to all the details of the crime scene as we know it and the kinds of weapons that were used in the homicides, this would give away too many of the secrets, so to speak, because if we do pick up a suspect and he agrees to be placed on the polygraph examination, this knowledge would already be known to him through the mass media, already presenting it. So we have to necessarily keep certain things under wraps so that when we do pick up the right man, that we can question him on these specific points.
In other words, perhaps it wasn't prudent to disclose that in the latest killings, the inscription carved in the man's chest, the words written on the refrigerator door, "Death to Pigs," that this information should not have been released.
That's true. I'll give you a classic example. Just recently at the Ramon Navarro murder, we put out the information that, yes, he was murdered, of course, and he was bludgeoned, but no one knew with what. And so when you pick up the suspects, you can, when they agree to the polygraph, you say, well, do you know whether he was bludgeoned with a hammer or a ball bat or a cane or whatever type of thing that you're going to be using? And his response, as would be shown up on the polygraph, would show that he had guilty knowledge on a specific thing, cane. And this would show that he has guilty knowledge on that, and he would not have been able to get that information anywhere else other than from his own first-hand knowledge. So this type of case, here again, I have to emphasize the fact that we're not putting a clamp on this thing to keep everyone in the dark. Quite the contrary, we do want to make any mistakes in an investigation of this type, and we want to be able to capture the suspect or suspects, as it may be, to a quick and speedy arrest.
Do we at this point have any hard, solid leads?
Nothing that I can divulge at this time. There's nothing new other than the fact that the investigators will probably be talking with hundreds of people before this thing is completed, because the nature of this particular group of people is such that it's rather unusual. Their friends and associates were has been classified as hippie type, whatever that is these days. But they had a vast number of friends and acquaintances, and some that were just sort of hanger-on type of things, and they all have to be questioned.
I understand that Sharon Tate's husband, Roman Polanski, has given you a list of suspects that perhaps might be involved in this case.
Well, it wasn't a list of suspects, it was just a list of people that they knew. And we have to differentiate here with what is a suspect, because in the jargon, the police know everyone's suspect type of thing, but we will question everyone whose name that we get, and we've been getting many phone calls, you can see, from all sources. They've been calling across from all over the world and wanting to know further information about the case, but we're also getting various little tips. Did you know that so-and-so used to frequent this particular bar, as an example? And I pass the information down to Lieutenant Helder, who has people assigned to backtrack on that.
There seems to be some question about whether narcotics were used at the Tate residence. Apparently the young man who was arrested, Garrettson, his attorney says, yes, narcotics were used, or were present there at the house. Yet the police says no, they weren't.
Well, we cannot comment on it. We're not commenting one way or the other whether narcotics were or were not used.
Have you come up with any rational motive for the killings involving particularly Sharon Tate and her show business friends?
No, everything at this point is purely speculative. We have ideas and things that we have to have, of course, in order to know which way to go. And at this point, of course, it's a wide open field as to. I've heard other reports from psychiatrists and psychologists, and they're giving their impression of why an individual would commit a crime like this. And at this point, we're interested only in the hard facts ourselves. Later on, once the suspect is arrested, then we'll delve further into his background and the peculiar hang-ups that he may have. And it's anyone's guess, of course, at this point.
Okay.
How often were you... Oh, you already did?
How long have you played?
3 years.
Could you keep moving back a little bit faster?
You betcha. Yeah, I got a little angry.
Well, it's fine, excepting the moving part. You know, the boys have it easy. They
No
can,
comments, Marie.
Well, they can put things in a couple of suitcases, but, you know, it's a half a year. It's accumulation, summer and winter clothes.
Will it be a relief to you to be away from the deputies?
I think it will. Well, I think it will be for all of us. The frame of mind will be more relieved, more be capable and better to do a better job.
Without giving away any secrets in your book, which we're anticipating, did everybody get along fairly well during the 8 months, or were there periods of strain?
I tell you what, why don't you wait and read the book?
Mrs. Hines, is this your husband with you?
Yes, I'm Mr. Hines.
Thank you.
Oh, you're gonna have to. Oh.
I thought you didn't come down to the station with us.
Well, what's the matter?
Oh, practice that later.
Hope there's no tin cans in the back of the car. We may go to Vegas for a week.
You know.
But in you.
No, but when the trial began, did you think you'd be here this long?
No, personally, I didn't think so.
What have you been doing all these weeks to pass the time in there? Apart from growing the beard? Writing, yeah?
Yes, I am. I
Good.
am writing all day.
About your experiences?
Right. I couldn't say very much, because I've been admonished on the circumstances, but eventually I believe that if I get to have to publish that book, there'll be a lot of things that of interest, public interest to everybody. I hope so, anyway.
What will it be about?
What is this?
This
Oh,
is
ABC 7.
Right. And what will you do now? Sort of come from home every day, huh?
Yes, we're supposed to go home, and then just like me and regular 30-day juror, except that we won't have to be sequestered.
And in control over the family.
Well, the ostensible purpose for the introduction into evidence of evidence concerning a sex orgy was to demonstrate and indicate Manson's control and his dominion, so to speak, over the members of the so-called family. Obviously, however, the prosecution deliberately selected a sexual situation in order to illustrate Manson's alleged dominance, so that they might, in their continuing process of slandering his character, put his character on trial rather than any conspiracy or any homicides. I suggest that their selection of a sex orgy to illustrate some aspect of his control over the other people in the family is just specious.
Paul, I understand that you and perhaps some of the other defense attorneys are a little unhappy about certain Manson family members being excluded from the courtroom by method of subpoena.
That's correct. First, I don't believe there is such a thing as the Manson family, but a rather loose confederation of people who temporarily reside at what's known as the Spawn Ranch are the people I was referring to. And every time these people come to court as members of the public to witness the proceedings, the prosecution serves them with a subpoena and has them excluded from the courtroom. Now, if the prosecution legitimately intends to call these persons as witnesses, obviously we have no objection. But to say the least, these are hostile, reluctant witnesses for the prosecution. If anything, they could conceivably be defense witnesses, but certainly not prosecution witnesses. And it's our position that they deliberately subpoena these persons and exclude them from the courtroom so that they're not there while certain of their witnesses testify, namely Linda Kasabian.
You don't think they would try to influence her by looks, by signals, by standing in the courtroom and saying anything?
Well, I think the prosecution feels that the mere presence of some of Linda Kasabian's contemporaries and contemporaries of Manson and Van Houten and Krenwinkel would intimidate her. I suggest that if she's telling the truth, they don't have any problems.
Yesterday, one of the family members, or one of the Confederate members, as you put it, did attempt to smuggle a note to Linda. And it seems to me that is a form of intimidation.
I'm not aware of that.
Yes, Sandra Good attempted to deliver a note to Linda on the 9th floor yesterday afternoon.
Well, I'm not aware of that. I might point out that Sandra Good is a friend and acquaintance of Linda Kasabian. I don't see anything improper in attempting to speak with her. I mean, I don't know the circumstances and the rules and regulations regarding the passage of notes in the Hall of Justice, but on the face of it, I don't see anything improper.
Okay. Thanks, Paul.
Line about.
Well, Vince, even before this trial, Mr. Knarrick's had quite a reputation for being an obstructionist. Do you think that's a pretty good description of the man's tactics in a courtroom?
I better not say anything directly on that, John. All I can say is this. You've observed him for 5 weeks. You saw his demeanor. And now the trial has really got underway, and I think you will agree with me that there's been a dramatic change between the Knarrick you saw for 5 weeks and the Knarrick you're seeing now. I think you'll all agree with me on that.
Did you speculate on his motives?
To speculate on the motives behind Mr. Knarrick's doing anything would be a rather unprofitable undertaking.
Is he laying groundwork for the appeal of this case?
Again, I don't know that. This might be his motive, but I think you'd have to ask him directly on that.
How much longer do you think Linda will actually be on the stand?
I expect that Linda will be under direct examination for at least one more day, perhaps 1.5 more days. Now, after direct examination, of course, there's cross-examination. Cross-examination might last a day or two. After cross-examination, I anticipate that we'll have Linda on redirect for another morning or afternoon session. So Linda's going to be on that stand for a total of about a week. Let's face it, she is the proverbial star witness for the prosecution.
Vince, are you as far along as you expected to be with Kasabian, or are all these objections delaying you?
They're delaying the proceedings somewhat because there's 4 or 5 objections to every single solitary question that I ask. So obviously this is impeding the progress of the trial. I don't think there's any question about that.
Vince, has Linda Kasabian received any threats or any communications from so-called members of the family regarding her testimony?
I understand that she received a letter from Sandra Good yesterday. I have not received a copy of the letter.
You know what it said?
No, other than what the newspapers and the television reporters said. I have no...
Take any action in regard to this?
I have heard an indication that the Los Angeles Police Department might decide to take some action against Miss Good.
What does the sexual activity of a defendant on trial for murder have to do with the charges of murder against him?
It's not the sexual activity per se. Mr. Stovitz and I did not create the facts in this.
Gil, were we doing anything?
Okay. Wow. They're familiar faces. It's like my family.
What's the dictionary definition of that?
I don't know. I heard it.
Do you have a book of your reverence?
One more second here.
It's now citing the dictionary.
Tell us about your suit, Paul.
Yeah, that's very nice. I like that. That's a badge of courage. You know.
Everybody set? The prosecution has spent some time on Manson's alleged sexual aberrations this morning, much to the defense's objection. Why are you objecting? The other activities that Manson and the family pursued.
Well, I mean, we're dealing with a purported sex orgy. As Mr. Kinerick ably pointed out, there's no indication at all that this took place. This is Linda Kasabian saying that such an orgy took place. She doesn't recall the date. She doesn't recall the identities of the persons present. She doesn't know any of the aspects surrounding the orgy. She has a vague recollection of some orgy and Manson being present and giving some orders. I think it's the weakest form of evidence we've seen so far.
Mr. Bugliosi doesn't seem to object to the purported sex orgy, but rather the way such a sex orgy was carried out and controlled by Mr. Manson. Do you think the fact that it was a sex orgy should prevent the prosecution from pursuing the conduct of Mr. Manson in this situation?
No, it's just simply that its prejudice far outweighs any probative value it might have. If he wants to illustrate that Manson gave orders, he might ask Linda Kasabian, didn't Mr. Manson send you down to the store to get cigarettes or candy or groceries? Or he could simply ask her, ask Linda Kasabian, did Manson give orders? I mean, we don't have to go into people's sexual behavior and conduct. And apparently, Linda Kasabian was a willing participant in this purported sexual activity. It was clear testimony that no one had a gun to her head. I mean, I think we're dealing with her sexual aberrations as much as we're dealing with any of the other defendants' sexual aberrations.
There's been a lot of time at the bench again this morning, and I understand there was an effort made to go into chambers. How do you react to this?
Well, as much as possible, the defendant's position is that we want this trial conducted in open public session. Now, certainly there are aspects of the case, legal matters, that should be conducted outside the presence of the jury. legal matters concerning offers of proof, legal matters concerning expected and proposed testimony, and objections concerning some aspects of the evidence should be held outside the presence of the jury. But we're trying to limit the portions that are conducted at the bench as much as possible.
Well, since Ms. Kasabian has taken the stand, do you think that enough of her testimony has and the arguments therein has been public?
No, it's not been public. I would say in the last few days we've spent as much time outside the presence of the public as we have inside the presence of the public.
Aren't you running the risk of alienating the jury with so many objections each day?
Yes. Yes, you do run the risk of alienating a jury. A jury doesn't like to sit there and listen to attorneys make objections. Obviously, the jury must feel that the defendants are attempting to hide something from them. The attorneys are trying to hide something from them. And every attorney takes that fact into consideration in determining whether or not he should interpose an objection. But as an attorney, you're in a dilemma. You obviously can't sit back and let improper, erroneous evidence be introduced against your client. So you have to make a decision. You have to weigh the tactical harm it's going to do to you by objecting in front of the jury against the value of the testimony that's attempted to be introduced against you. Now, you saw the balance, most of the objections being made by Mr. Kinerick. Mr. Kinerick obviously feels in good conscience that he must object, notwithstanding the influence it might have on the jury.
You think his objections are always proper?
Well, I don't in any respect question Mr. Kinerick's motivation. Because it does hurt him in the eyes of the jury. I don't think he's doing it in order to obstruct or delay the trial in any fashion. I think he's doing it because he legitimately and conscientiously feels that he must object to improper evidence.
Can you say now that he is hurting his position in front of the jury at this point?
I think it's a matter of... I think it's a matter of common knowledge that juries do not like extensive objections, and you saw some extensive objections. On the other hand, you know, Kinerick's position is that the prosecution deliberately asks improper questions in order to solicit and elicit objections from him.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman.
This is the end of that answer.
We'll wrap this
No, these are standard instructions.
How long do you expect it to go on, the deliberation?
All I can say is that I would expect an absolute minimum of 3 or 4 days because of the magnitude and complexity of this case.
Now they're off.
Beyond that, I don't know.
They're off Sunday and then Saturday 9 to 5. So
they're going to be off Sunday. They are going to be working Saturday. Each day they will deliberate here at the Hall of Justice, not at the hotel.
Mr. Bugliosi, the Hall of Justice is reported to be under virtual martial law because of some clandestine plot that's been uncovered. What can you tell me about that?
Other than what you just said, I can't add anything to that, John.
Would you say that?
I just understand that the Los Angeles County Sheriff's Office is going to place the Hall of Justice under martial law until that verdict comes in.
No, I would consider, I think that this jury, like most other juries, are very conscientious, and they have a tremendous number of physical exhibits, well over 400 actual physical exhibits to review. They have a tremendous number of witnesses' testimony to review. Are obviously going to take their job very, very seriously. I would anticipate they'd be out 5 days, full court days, deliberation days before they arrived at a verdict, regardless of what the verdict happened to be. I would be very, very surprised for a quick verdict in this case. Very surprised.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you.
Just about set.
You all set?
Well, Vince, you look like you almost have a prison pallor. You've been spending so much time here in this courtroom, almost 8 months. What's your physical condition after all of this?
Well, I feel good, Dick, but God only knows if anything is, in other words, if there's been a heavy toll on me. I really don't know. I feel good, but there may have been a heavy toll that I'm unaware of. I do work 7 days a week. I put in usually about 16 hours a day. At least superficially, I feel good.
Have you had to go on any kind of a health regimen to keep your strength up and
No.
be mentally alert?
I try to get at least 5 hours sleep a night, and on weekends I try to catch up on my sleep. But basically, it's been an enormous job, and as I told you before, it's not that I'm a masochist for work, but there's just a monumental amount of work that has to be done, and no bluebird's going to come through the window and do it for me.
What has done your jury to deliberate on this
Well,
case?
as far as my home life is concerned, my wife has been extremely understanding and cooperative.
Vince, can you tell us what the last minute bench conference was about?
It only concerned an instruction, and I cannot divulge the nature of that because it was at the bench.
Were any of those instructions unusual?
Be deliberating just
That'll be 24 hours a day.
Will they be deliberating 8 hours a day?
Yes.
How long will the second phase of this take if they come back with a guilty verdict?
We haven't reached a determination yet as to exactly what crimes, if any, we're going to put on during the penalty phase.
Mm-hmm. Any number of witnesses that you have planned to call?
We've subpoenaed 33 witnesses thus far. This does not mean that we're going to call them to the witness stand.
Will there be a lot of repeats?
Thank you.
Oh, no.
No different ones?
Yeah.
Penalty phase, then you cannot estimate the length of time for that?
No.
If there is one.
Right, that's right.
In 8 months, I heard you whistling a while ago in the hallway.
Well,
what does that
obviously-
indicate? Relief that it's over?
Hopefully it's over permanently. At least it's over temporarily. We sort of, it's probably an unusual statement for an attorney to make, but we're hoping for the best but expecting the worst.
What do you mean when you say you're hoping for the best?
Well, we would all hope that our clients would be acquitted of all the charges. And what I mean when I say we expect the worst is, I think to adequately defend our clients, we have to assume that they're going to be convicted and there's going to be a subsequent penalty phase for which we have prepared, but at least we're at an end of a major portion of the trial.
How can the jury find it? What can they come back with?
Well, of course, there are multiple defendants and there are multiple counts. So with the exception of Leslie Van Houten, who's only charged in the last 3 counts of the indictment, 6, 7, and 8, the others are charged in all 8 counts of the indictment. So there are possible verdicts as to Manson, Krenwinkel, and Atkins of not guilty of murder in all 7 counts, and not guilty of conspiracy to commit murder, or guilty of murder in the 2nd degree, or guilty of murder in the 1st degree. As to Leslie Van Houten, of course, there are only, I suppose, 6 permutations. Guilty of counts 6, 7, and 8, 9. Not guilty of 6, 7, and 8, guilty of 6, 7, and 8, or guilty in 6, 7, and 8 in the 2nd degree.
Now, if there's a penalty phase to this, can you tell us how many witnesses, if any, you plan to call since the defense rested without calling any witnesses in the major portion of the trial?
Well, I think that's an important question. If the jury convicts these defendants of first-degree murder, they are convicting them beyond any reasonable doubt. They are not, however, convicting them beyond all possible doubt. And it is a very likely situation that at penalty we would attempt to interpose a defense, not to show the jury that they weren't in fact guilty, but to create some doubt as to their guilt. And we may put on the defense that was never tendered during the actual guilt portion of the trial. However, most importantly, it depends on the prosecution. It depends. And now there's been rumors that the prosecution is going to put on this evidence and that evidence and this evidence, and much depends on what the prosecution does.
They have subpoenaed 33 witnesses.
More than that, we understand that upwards of 50 witnesses have been subpoenaed to testify for the prosecution at penalty, although the prosecution, and I'm sure they're being very candid with us, have said that they can't make up their mind at this point to whether or not to put on a lengthy penalty trial or a relatively brief penalty trial. They seem to feel that it will depend upon the length of the jury deliberations and various other aspects that they have to evaluate in the interim.
Will you defendants take the stand?
How long will the penalty phase? Well, as I say, it depends on the prosecution. It would take at least as long as the prosecution's presentation of evidence in aggravation, and perhaps even considerably longer.
Well, the jury prosecutor Bugliosi was a little bit harsh on all of you attorneys in his summation.
Yes, we feel he was a little bit harsh on us attorneys during the summation.
Would any of the defendants take the stand in the penalty phase?
It's difficult to determine. We're presently considering that very distinct possibility, but at this point it's simply a possibility.
Paul, if the jury is still out after 3 or 4 days,
The judge's order banning all pretrial publicity in this case is one of the most far-reaching in the history of Los Angeles County. Only once before have there been such restrictions, in the trial of Sirhan, the man convicted of killing Senator Robert Kennedy. Dick Shoemaker, ABC News, Los Angeles.